It is a beautiful November afternoon on the banks of the Illinois River at Detweiler Park in Peoria, as Sports Channel presents highlights of the 1990 Illinois High School Association Boys and Girls Cross Country State Championships. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom Stocker. And in the next hour here on Sports Channel, we'll bring you highlights of 4 races here from Detweiler Park. State championships in both A and AA for both boys and girls. Once again, Lee Hallberg, former coach at Springfield Lamphere, our guest analyst. And Lee, other states may produce more talent in terms of cross country, but nobody puts on a better state meet. This is truly a spectacle.
Well, I agree. I'm not sure anybody puts on a better meet. As far as I'm concerned, this is the greatest high school meet in the nation. I can't think of a better place to run a state meet than here at Detweiler Park. You've got ample room for the size fields that run in these 4 races. It's also a facility that allows literally thousands of spectators to view this race. And I think a great deal of credit needs to be extended to Mr. Richard Green, the principal at Peoria High School, Bill Sissel, their athletic director, Mike Lawless, the coach. The Illinois Valley Striders play an important role in the conduct of this affair, and I think they, from year to year, have 2,000 volunteers that deserve a great deal of credit as well.
While we have 4 races, each race really is 2 races in itself. It's a race for individuals to determine the individual state champion. And then, of course, there's the team battle. And in cross country, it's the low score that wins. You have 7 runners for each of the teams that qualified. The first 5 that cross the finish line, you take their place finishes, you add up the points, low points win, and it is a philosophy you run in a tight pack. You try to keep your 5 scores, or 7 if you can, as close together as possible to help one another.
I've always treated this as a team sport, and I know a lot of people think of it as being more of an individual affair, but I think the teams that year in and year out come into this event have spent a great deal of time in preparation to run as a pack and trying to stay together.
Weather conditions for this part of November here in Peoria, just ideal for running. The wind does not become a factor down here. Temperatures before the day is completed could reach up into the 70s. Actually a very warm afternoon, and what factor could that have today?
I think it's going to be an ideal day, certainly for these first 2 or 3 races. It may be a little bit warm by the time the AA boys run at 12:45, but at this point in the season, these young men and women are happy to be here. I'm sure they'll accept whatever conditions they're presented with.
All right, the first of our 4 races, the championships for Class A boys in the team battle. No real clear-cut favorite, although you have to give perhaps a slight edge to Tremont. They were ranked number 1. They finished 12th last year in the Class A finals. They're coming off a strong win in the Rushville sectional.
I see 3 teams that have a legitimate shot at winning. I would say along with Tremont, you've got Liberty and West Frankfort. I think it's tough to call. I think there are 6 teams, possibly 7, that have a legitimate chance at a trophy or a top 5 finish at the very least. Among those other teams, I would have to include Normal U High. I would say Elmwood has a great tradition of running well in the state meet, as well as St. Joe Ogden. And of course, if West Frankfort is as good as they appear to be on paper, Breeze Mater Dei could be a sleeper.
Well, the reason why perhaps I might give a slight edge to Tremont is the fact they have a good leader in Brad Kaufman, and they've also, in that Rushville sectional, beat 2 other top 5 teams in Liberty and Elmwood, and when they go head-to-head and Tremont comes out a winner, that's maybe why you might give them the edge. Now in the individual battle in Class A, it could be a duo for Wheaton St. Francis. Chris Adesso of Wheaton St. Francis, 4th last year, the top returner in Class A, won a strong Amboy sectional, has come on very strong lately in the season.
He has to be the favorite, I think, too, in view of what we've seen, not only last year and this year, all season long. Brad Kaufman, going into last week's sectional, as you know, was undefeated, but was beaten by Roy Scherler of Elmwood. I do know for a fact that the Tremont team worked hard throughout that week prior to the sectional. I think they're a little more rested and probably are ready to go.
Chris Adesso could also be helped by teammate Steve Faley. We may look for those 2 to work and help each other along the way in Class A boys. Coming up, we'll have the start of the Class A boys right here from Detweiler Park in Peoria. And they're off and running in our first of 4 finals today, the Class A boys, as they come down the long opening straightaway. And obviously, Lee, the start not as important as, let's say, in a 100-meter dash, but the start in a race like this can be very important.
Well, yeah, I know as a coach, I certainly wanted to make sure that my athletes didn't overextend themselves in that first 400 meters. Every once in a while, a young man or a young lady will come into this meet, and with the added level of excitement, we'll run through that first quarter mile much too fast, and it certainly takes its toll.
The boys run 3 miles, making approximately 3 loops here at Detweiler Park in Peoria. The top Class A boys time here at Detweiler in the state finals. 1985, Troy Maddox of Streeter Woodland ran 14:18.5. And invariably, Lee, this early in the race, you get somebody who shoots out to the front for a variety of reasons.
Well, I think everybody would like to run this first turn unobstructed. And of course, if you get to the right of this chalk line down here, you're going to have a little bit better opportunity to run without interference. But of course, if you don't position well early in the race, then that pack of runners, that herd, as I call it, will sometimes dictate what you do in the early going.
The early leader, Kevin Tinsley of Oregon. While a couple of individuals running behind him. Number 459 running second, Aaron Woodyat of Genoa Kingston. We're early in the boys Class A as we make the first loop around Detweiler Park here on the banks of the Illinois River in Peoria. They're approaching the first half mile.
As we head through that first half mile, the leaders are going to come through at about 2:11 and 2:12.
And they did go right through at about 2:11, 2:12. A little bit of a fast pace. Now we see one of the Wheaton St. Francis kids coming on up early, but also moving now up into the lead, number 472, and that is Greg Punky, a senior from Seneca. He is in the yellow, green, and white singlet, while number 460, Barry Pierman of Georgetown Ridge Farm in the purple, is running alongside. While moving up into third for Wheaton St. Francis is Chris Adesso, one of the favorites. He is in the white singlet with the light blue trunks. We're 3 minutes and 41 seconds into the boys Class A. The leader, Barry Pierman, a sophomore from Georgetown Ridge Farm. The sophomore going out to make an early impression, but the veterans from Wheaton St. Francis, Faley and Adesso, are not far behind.
Now, this young man is really taking it out aggressively. He looks strong right now. He's got about a 4-yard lead open up on that group of 4 or 5 runners right behind him.
We'll be coming up to the 1 mile mark shortly as Pierman stretches it out a little bit. Faley and Adesso hanging behind. And I think we can underscore here. Lee, the fact with those two teammates running alongside each other, they help each other, and they've been doing it all season long.
I'm sure they have. I'm sure it's a source of confidence. And certainly if one of them ran poorly, it might adversely affect the other. But it doesn't appear that's going to be the case today. As we approach the 1 mile mark.
You can hear them call out the times. We're at 4:40, 4:42, 4:43, about 4:44 for the leader, Barry Pierman, the sophomore. And a lot of times, especially, Lee, in Class A, you'll see somebody that is not ranked among the favorites come out, especially an underclassman like Pierman, and surprise people.
Well, sure, I think the level of excitement enhances that possibility, but what, on the other hand, do they have to lose? Adesso is obviously taking the lead right now, and of course, this is the type of race. These kids have been well coached all season long. They've come into every race, every major race, certainly with some type of plan. And invariably, year after year, we see the top individuals start to make a move before this North Loop.
There goes Chris Adesso. Pierman now falling back to second. There goes Faley, the other runner from Wheaton St. Francis, right now running fourth. Also, Brad Blakely from Frankfurt is also moving up early. After that point, Lee, they go into that back diamond area, that back loop, where some position changing will be going on. As they come out of the back loop, Chris Adesso of Wheaton St. Francis has broken it wide open. He has extended about a 30 to 40-yard lead now over the rest of the pack as we come back to the main loop around Detweiler. Chris Adesso, he says, I know if I do what I have to do, I can't be denied the state title. He battles allergies and asthma, And as an asthma sufferer myself, I know how tough that is running, and he has really broken out a wide lead, and right now it is his race, Lee Halbert.
It doesn't look like anything's going to stand in his way today as we approach the mile and 3/4 mark. He looks good. He seems to be in control of himself. And it looks like the nearest competitor is Brad Blakey of West Frankfort.
Early in the season, it was his teammate, the junior Steve Faley, who established himself as the #1 runner for Wheaton St. Francis. At the Crete Monet powwow, for example, Faley ran in the first flight. Adesso ran in the second flight. And then in the West Aurora Invitational, with a lot of AA competition, Faley finished second to Larkin's Mike O'Brien. Adesso finished third. But then in the Suburban Catholic Conference meet, Adesso won it, going 15:28 with teammate Steve Faley second. The Amboy sectional, Adesso won it. Faley was third. And in the tough Amboy sectional, it was Chris Adesso winning at 14:49 with teammate Steve Faley 11 seconds back. So he has indeed, as we said in the preview for this race, come on strong when it counted. And right now the battle is for second. We saw a similar race last year. John Eggenberger of Herscher took command about a mile into the race and made everybody else try to catch him.
Same type of race, essentially. About 1.25 miles. Just took charge, never looked back, and was not challenged. And of course, at this point for seniors, you tell them with a half mile to go, there'll be no more opportunities to run here at Detweiler Park as a high school cross-country runner. They're going to call on all their resources.
The tie won't be spectacular. We're at 13:16, but that's not surprising since he's all by himself. Nobody will push him. He'll be able to literally cruise on in to the individual Class A state title.
I would have to say at this point, this time of year and in this meet, time has to take a back seat to place.
At this point, you're on a slight downhill stretch, and then as you come towards the finish line, the last 0.60th of a mile, you do run an uphill incline. But that won't be a factor here. You can hear his fans and supporters saying, "You've got it." He has not looked back. He knows it's his. As we head down the final straightaway. And the fans begin to cheer on Chris Adesso of Wheaton St. Francis. A lot of pressure on him this year as one of the top returners, as he finished 4th last year, and he has responded to the pressure. Easily a 100 to 110 yard margin right now, with just yards left to go. And we'll try to pick up second and third place, but as we get the unofficial time, we're at 14:59, 15 minutes, 15:01, 15:02 unofficially. Here comes the battle for second. And moving out is Justin Weiss, a junior from Lisle, second. Finishing third from Elmwood, Roy Scherler. And finishing fourth, number 191, that is Brad Blakey of Frankfort. Chris Adesso of St. Francis, the winner at 15:04, improving from his 4th place finish a year ago. Justin Weiss, the only underclassman in the top 5, a junior from Lisle, finished second at 15:17. Elmwood's Roy Scherler was 3rd, improving from his 18th place finish a year ago. 15:18 his time. Brad Blakey, a senior from Frankfort of West Frankfort, finished 4th at 15:20. And rounding out the top 5, Jerome Reyes, a senior from Rock Island Alaman, at 15:28. But afterwards, we talked with the champ, Chris Adesso. Chris, last year you finished 4th, and I'm sure you felt that nothing less than a state championship would do.
I felt that if I didn't win the state championship, I would have been disappointed, and I thought that last year I could have won it and should have won it, and this year I went out and did what I had to do to win. I did know that I was the #1 returning runner. I didn't let the pressure affect me at all. I didn't really think about it at all. It just didn't bother me.
And also the fact is that you just took up the sport 3 years ago. Give us a little background on that. Did the coaches come and yank you out of gym class or what?
Yeah, basically that's what it was. He just pulled me by the arm off the track in gym class and said, basically, you're coming to practice tonight, and I did, and I ended up 11th in the state as a sophomore. I'm really glad that happened.
Here are the top 5 teams in Class A boys. Tremont, the state champions, with 94 points. As they outdistanced Frankfort of West Frankfort, who had 114. Finishing third was Elmwood with 163 points. The Spartans of St. Joseph Ogden were fourth, 179 points. And rounding out the top 5, Mater Dei from Breeze with 187 points. And we had a chance to talk with the winning coach of Tremont, Mike Lynn. Coach Lynn, first of all, congratulations, and tell us about the team strategy going in. You were rated #1. People thought you had the capability to win it, but doing it on the course was something different.
Yes, it is. We were rated #2 last year and thought we would have a good chance for a trophy, and we just fell apart and did not run very well. Today, basically, we wanted to just stay relaxed. And we knew we were determined. We were hungry after last year's mistakes, and we just wanted to stay relaxed and confident.
And to have a leader like Brad Kaufman, who has been outstanding in cross country and track, that has to be a great pillar to work in and build your team around.
Well, that's true. Physically speaking, Brad was our #1 runner all year, but I have to say our emotional leader was Ty Petro, and I was so happy to see him run an outstanding race today and finish 14th in All-State.
They talk about Bear Bryant's boys coaching in college football and pro football today. Here's one of Joe Newton's boys from York in the late 60s. And obviously it has to be very satisfying to win the title after seeing Joe do so many, 14 coming into this year?
Right. It makes it an extra thrill. And I remember him in 1965 telling me about how sweet it was to win a state title. And now this is my first one. And one of the first things I had to do was just rush down and tell him that, hey, we won. Now it's your turn to win today.
And now for the Class A Girls Championships. The girls run 2 miles. If this were a horse race, Lee, this would be a handicapper's nightmare, as this one is absolutely wide open both individually and team-wise.
I find it difficult to call. You've got 15 young ladies running in this meet today that ran a year ago. You've got 8 teams that ran a year ago. Many girls returned from last year's 89 meet. I think it's really tough to call, not only at the team level, but individually.
Yeah, what you alluded to is the fact is in the team race, 8 of the top 10 teams from last year returned 5 or more runners this year. Individually, 8 of the top 10, 15 of the top 20 from last year returned, so it really could be anybody's race. Let's take a look at the team battle right now. I have to say perhaps Herscher could be rated a slight favorite because they're coming off an impressive win at the Muhammad Seymour sectional.
I agree with you. Herscher looks like they might be a slight favorite.
Also, you take a look at earlier in the season, they lost to St. Joseph Ogden, one of the other favorites in this field, but also they came back and beat St. Joe Ogden and Unity, a couple of tough teams from the Illini Central Conference in that sectional. They also edged Seneca by a couple of points earlier this year at Yorkville's Independence Classic. Now, those 2 teams from the Illini Central Conference, St. Joe Ogden and Unity, they go at each other all season long. Now they obviously go at each other again with the other teams factoring in.
Well, they're certainly not strangers to one another, and I would imagine that the fact that they've run against one another all season long and run against the top competition, they're well prepared for this race today.
Individually, as we said, 15 of the top 20 returned from a year ago. Difficult to have a clear-cut favorite. You got to look at Rachel Knapp of Winnebago, who was second last year, to Brooke Roberts of Shelbyville. She comes off a 13-second win at the Amboy sectional. But I really like the credentials of Laura Erfmeyer of Chicago Christian. She was third last year. She won the Manuka Invitational by 57 seconds. She also won the private school conference meet, and she also won the main event at Lisle. So she's won some big meets, and I like runners who have that kind of credibility.
We talked to a number of coaches who have said Laura Erfmeyer might be the one to beat today, and certainly I think we'll see her up front.
And she may also be getting help from her teammate, Amy Kuipers. We might see a repeat, as we saw in the Class A, where early Steve Faley and Chris Adesso of Wheaton St. Francis helped each other. Other perhaps dark horses individually in the Class A girls, Tiffany Morrell, the 3,200-meter champ from the state track meet, Leslie McWethy of Elmwood, who won the Kewanee sectional, beating Tiffany Morrell, and Becky Garrett of Sparta, who was 4th last year. So it's a wide open race. Let's go now to the starting line. And the Class A girls are off and running, starting the 2-mile circuit around Detweiler Park. Starting off on the long, long straightaway down the wide open heart of this part of Detweiler Park. Temperatures continue to warm up. Still very, very delightful conditions for running. As you can see, the pack sort of diverts. Some will go far to the right, Lee, or to your screen's left. Others will go to the other side. There's two philosophies. We've seen both work.
Well, Scott Stevens talked to me prior to this race. He had some concerns. The Herscher team was placed in box 1, and he was worried about that being a negative factor in this race. But I told him that years ago I'd done a little research, and I think we have seen teams, individuals run well from just any position on that starting line, and sometimes maybe we spend a little bit too much time worrying about the position at the starting line.
Exactly, because even if you aren't in the best position when you make your first turn, there's plenty of race left to go.
And I think you just want to make certain that you position well in that first 500 yards.
And you can see the pack stream back towards the starting line as they get ready to make the first turn and begin the 2-mile circuit around Detweiler. Early leader Brittany Johnson, a junior from Lebanon. And leading the pack right now for second from Chicago Christian is Laura Erfmeyer, wearing the purple singlet with the yellow stripe across the singlet. Also running up there strong is Rachel Knapp. So already, Lee, before they make the first turn, we see several of the favorites right up towards the very front.
It is no surprise. We anticipated earlier that these young ladies, the three you've mentioned, would battle from start to finish.
Rachel Knapp, Laura Erfmeyer, Amy Kuipers. Erfmeyer and Kuipers both from Chicago Christian. Rachel Knapp with the white singlet that says Bago across the front, of course. Winnebago, the defending team champions from a year ago. We're coming up to the first half mile. Current time right now into the race, 2 minutes and 26 seconds. Still with the lead, the junior from Lebanon, Brittany Johnson. And as they approach the half mile, she is about 2:36. Now run along the state highway here on the side of Detweiler Park, closest to the river. We're 5 minutes and 12 seconds into the race. And we are coming up, and we will pick up the leaders at 1 mile. Halfway through the race, Becky Garrett of Sparta now seems to have a slight lead, and at the mile, she is 5:31. And Lee, it looks like Becky's getting ready to make a bid to take control of things.
I'll tell you, she looks great at this point. 5:30 at the mile. She looks strong. I'll tell you, on the other hand, nobody is ready to let her get away with it either at this point. I think we may see some of these girls try to make a move here before we go into the North Loop.
The North Loop is where a lot of changes can take place, Lee.
I agree.
And it's going to be very critical, especially looking back to Erfmeyer and Kuipers, as that first group of 3 runners is beginning to show some daylight between them and the rest of the pack.
If a young lady has hopes of battling for a top 2 or 3 finish, they can't let these top 3 girls get away right now.
As they get ready to head up into the North Loop, we're at 6 minutes and 20 seconds. Becky Garrett of Sparta right now with the lead. Running second from Lebanon, Brittany Johnson. Running third is Rachel Knapp of Winnebago. Running fourth, wearing number 122, Laura Erfmeyer, then Amy Kuipers. And alongside her is Laura Witek, the sophomore from Woodstock, Marion. Now let's see if we can get a handle, Lee, at this point as to the team battle. We see St. Joe Ogden and Unity with some runners. I see the second St. Joe runner. St. Joe Ogden wearing number 161. That's Ashley Wright, her grandfather, the former track and cross country coach at the University of Illinois and Oak Park River Forest High School many years ago, Bob Wright. And there's Unity and St. Joe. Both have about 4 runners right now through at this point. So if I had to guess at this point, Lee, it would be those 2 teams from the Illini Central Conference. And as they come out of the back loop, it is still Becky Garrett of Sparta, and she has lengthened her lead. That's a make it or break it loop back there, and she really took control back there. In fact, to the point that we cannot even see right now who is in second place. And as she makes this little S turn right here, makes the turn around the yellow flag, that is the final straightaway towards the chute. And Laura Erfmeyer is starting to make up some ground behind her. She's in the purple back there.
She has moved into second, but I suspect that the distance is too much to be made up in this final 250 meters.
But again, you don't have the luxury of running downhill or even level. You are running up an incline the last, 400 meters towards the chute.
Well, I know it's tough, but she's got the help of thousands of spectators right now. And she looks like she's going to be impossible to beat.
Becky Garrett of Sparta with what looks to be an unbeatable lead. Laura Erfmeyer back in second from Chicago Christian. Looking to be back in third is Brittany Johnson, who ran a very strong race for a junior, went out early among the early leaders, and did not falter.
She was not intimidated at all, and boy, you sure like to see that as a coach. An underclassman step forward and really take it out with the older girls.
All right, as she gets ready to head to the chute, 11:42, 11:43, 11:44, and she is running unofficially the best Class A girls time here at Detweiler. There's Laura Erfmeyer of Chicago Christian. She's at 11:56. Here comes Brittany Johnson of Lebanon, just past the 12-minute mark. Sprinting up there in the fourth, number 558, Treasure Schultz, a sophomore from Gardner, South Wilmington. Then comes Rachel Knapp. Becky Garrett, a new Class A girls' best ever time here at Detweiler in the state finals. 11:47 her winning time, improving from her fourth place finish a year ago. Laura Erfmeyer, the senior from Chicago Christian, was second at 11:57. Lebanon junior Brittany Johnson was third at 12:03. A sophomore, Treasure Schultz from Gardner, South Wilmington, was fourth at 12:06. And a second behind her, Amy Kuipers, the junior from Chicago Christian, at 12:07. And afterwards, we talked with the champion, Becky Garrett. Judging by the fact that, the first 13 places equaled or better the previous record, that must have been one heck of a field to have to run against.
Yes, it was. I didn't know that my time, I didn't know that that would be a state record. I just came out and I did the best that I can because I know I wanted it bad, and I worked all year for it, over last winter and everything. And so I came here with the intention of winning, and I'm glad that I did.
Congratulations to a delightful champion.
Thank you very much. I didn't expect to get a record. I just wanted to go out and have fun and do the best that I can because this is my last time to get it. And every other year when I lost it, I always said, I've always got next year, but this is my last time, so I just had to go for it today.
So there you see the Spartans of St. Joseph Ogden winning the Class A Girls Championship team battle with 167 points, beating Hillsboro at 186 points. Rock Island Alleman was third at 188, just 2 points behind Hillsboro. University High of Urbana was fourth, 197 points. 2 points behind them was Herscher with 199. And afterwards, we had a chance to talk with the victorious coach of St. Joseph Ogden. Steve Schaefer, congratulations. This was a wide-open meet for the girls' A-team title. It could have been any number of teams.
Oh, definitely. Coming out of our sectionals, we were third, and we figured that the top 4 teams in our sectional had a chance of winning the state title. I didn't know much about Hillsboro or Rock Island, but we just thought that it could be anybody's race, and it just happened to be ours for this day.
There were some high expectations for your team a year ago, but they didn't materialize. Obviously, that was a learning experience for this year.
Yes, yeah. Last year, I think they just came here and they were overwhelmed by the big show. This year, we definitely came here with our minds on winning the state title, and they were a lot more serious in the preparation for it.
How to tie your shoe.
As we get ready now for the AA girls, we're out here in the corner of the course just off the first turn. You remember last year's coverage, we have the urban assault vehicle. We brought it back this year for a second time, and our thanks to the 169th Technical Air Support Squadron of the Air National Guard and Technical Sergeant Carmelo Bear Montez, who has been our ace driver guiding us around the course. We could not have done it without them, and we thank them. Meanwhile, in AA girls, team battle, I guess you say one word, Palatine.
I think actually the meet they're on the verge of having one of the best teams ever in Illinois girls cross country. I can't foresee them losing today unless they do it themselves.
They're trying to become the first girls AA team to win back-to-back state titles since Wheeling did the trick in '83 and '84. They returned 5 runners from their state championship team a year ago, added a girl who finished 23rd running for Crete Moni a year ago, transfer Eliza Current, and you have potentially one of the best AA girls cross-country teams in Illinois history.
You know, Liberty ran well last week also in that sectional meet. They're not too far back, but I think they'll be hard-pressed to beat Palatine today. I think what we may see is a heck of a race for that number 3 spot.
Look at Palatine's track record. They've beaten 2nd-ranked Libertyville, 3rd-ranked Naperville Central, 4th-ranked Downers Grove South, and 5th-ranked Hersey twice. They've taken on the competition, handled it easy. Now, a little more complicated formula in the girls' individual race. Erin Boland of McHenry seems to be the odds-on favorite. She was the 1988 champion. As a freshman in '87, she was 3rd, battled a stress fracture last year, and really battled and finished 9th. But she's unbeaten this year, and she's handled all the competition.
Well, she's shown in the past years she can handle the competition. She's got to be my favorite today. I would say that if anybody's going to beat her, they're going to have to run the race of their lifetime.
Amy Siegel could be the best of the rest, perhaps. She lost by 15 seconds to Erin Bowling at the sectional last week. She's also the Mid-Suburban Conference champ, which is always a strong conference. Kelly Carl of Libertyville, also a good individual, coming off, though, a 4th at that very tough Niles West sectional. Stephanie Goodrich of Evanston. She is not. She's more of the North Shore girls, and she has had a very strong season, but suffered to 6th in that same Niles West sectional.
Well, at the other end of the state, too, you've got Catherine Gaffigan from Springfield Sacred Heart Griffin, who has 2 top 5 finishes in the last 2 years in the state meet. I've watched her all season long. She's a real tough competitor. She's going to be a factor, I believe, today among the top 5. However, she was beaten last week in the Springfield Lanford sectional by Stacy McCormick from Murfreesboro, so it's tough to call.
Well, here we go. Let's mount up. Let's see Pat Foley, Jim Durham, and company try this when they're doing the game, huh?
Well, let's do it.
And you see the start for the AA girls. Again, they run 2.1 miles, a couple of loops around Detweiler Park on a day that is getting warmer by the moment. But considering what the alternatives have been for you as a coach here in your days, Lee, this is delightful.
I wouldn't trade this day for anything. I certainly wouldn't trade this vantage point either. It's one of the best I've had in 20 years.
Look at the pack split into 2 distinct groups, one shooting for the left side, while everybody else is going far to the right to battle for position for that first turn.
You see that every once in a while, and for those of us who have stood behind this group, we have found there is an alley in which runners could cruise right on down through the middle of this course.
I see one particular team, for example. I can't identify them as far away as they are in yellow and maroon, staying right up the middle part. There's no one right way to handle it as you get ready to make the first turn.
I think what's most important is that the runners from your school have confidence in what it is they're doing and that they've got a plan.
And we see Palatine already in a pack right in the middle of your screen, wearing white singlets, red trunks with a red stripe across the front. I see Kathy Gaffigan from Sacred Heart Griffin in the all dark among the leaders, early leaders. Right now, the early leader for the AA girls, wearing number 522, Talbot Parker, a junior from Metamoros. So Kathy Gaffigan in second right now. Running third from Sterling is Jenny Schwab, a senior. A sophomore Megan Fry from Jacksonville in the red and white over the candy striped trunks. Right in the middle of the pack, right on the chalk line. And you see Palatine in that red and white pack to the left of your screen. Leading the pack for Palatine is Eliza Curran, the transfer from Creighton-O'Neill a year ago.
For the first time today, you can see the team race develop real early in the race. And of course, it's obvious that they're running together to the left of our view right now.
And we can see the Pirates, from what I can see here, you may not be able to see it on the screen, they're wearing their red and white war paint. They've come ready for battle today, haven't they?
Indeed.
We're coming up on the 1 mile mark.
It's going to be a quick one, too.
Right now we're at 5:17, the best double-A time ever. Aaron Boland is a sophomore in winning it in 1988, ran 11:42. And at the mile, they're 5:26. So they're on a pace that could put them close to the double-A best. And right now you've got what looks to be a pack of 5 pulling away from the rest, but I look and see that Palatine pack being the bulk of the secondary pack behind them. Kelly Carl, Aaron Boland, Amy Siegel, Kathy Gaffigan right now are the front 4. Following back then Talbot Parker of Metamora.
We've run about 1.25 miles and nobody is yet ready to throw in the towel up front. We've got a great race developing.
4 outstanding talents all season long. They get ready, folks, to enter the back loop, and this is where it could break down.
Well, we're going to have an opportunity, too, I think, to see the team race as they come by.
We'll keep an eye for the red and white of Palatine. Going by for Palatine right there was Tricia Huber. Then went Jamie Shirk. There goes number 244, Kristen Abrahamson. And coming out of the back loop, that is Aaron Boland of McHenry. Right now we're 8 minutes, 57 seconds into the double-A girls 2-mile state championship. And she's opened up about a 30-yard lead, Lee.
She, too, broke it open in that north loop here at Detweiler Park. It looks like the race may be for second, third, and fourth.
And I'll tell you what a courageous comeback this year for Aaron Boland. Remember last year, she so gutsily hung in there with Marquise Sanders of East St. Louis, hampered all season long by the stress fracture that really hindered her training. Still finished 9th, this after being the 88 state champion, and in 87 she was 3rd. Maybe the most dominating runner since Dana Mirabali.
I think that's safe to say. We wouldn't want to diminish the championship win of Marquise Sanders last year.
No.
It was heartbreaking, of course, for Aaron to try to come back so far from that injury and fall short.
And we'll take a look back, and we see that right now Amy Siegel leads the battle for second with Kathy Gaffigan. And also right in there, of course, is Kelly Carl of Libertyville. But Aaron Boland, she was the winner at the Canlan Invitational, winning there by 33 seconds. At the Palatine Invitational, she beat Kelly Carl by 16 seconds. She won here at the Peoria Invitational, winning by 25 seconds on the 29th of September. She was the Fox Valley Conference Championship, winning by 43 seconds. She won the Crystal Lake Regional, winning by 33 seconds. And then in a very, very tough Niles West Sectional, she beat Amy Siegel by 15 seconds. Also in the field, Tricia Huber, Kelly Carl, and Stephanie Goodrich. And it's her race as she heads down the final straightaway. Looking back, Amy Siegel of Wheeling right now has the lead for second. He was second at the Niles West Sectional, the winner at Palatine and the regionals, and the Mid-Suburban Conference champion. But it's Aaron Boland, and what a glorious finish to her high school career, bouncing back for a convincing victory in the double-A girls.
This huge crowd is paying her a fine tribute. They recognize that.
Now she's got a chance. Her best was 11:42 as a sophomore. It's 11:10 right now. She's got a chance for the best double-A time here at Detweiler in the state finals. We're at 11:18, and I think she's going to get it. This is going to be a best for double-A girls. Aaron Boland.
Outstanding race.
Unofficially, 11:29, beating her previous best by 13 seconds. Here comes Amy Siegel of Wheeling. Kelly Carl of Libertyville is in third. Kathy Gaffigan is in fourth. Right now in fifth, Sean Crawford, a sophomore from South Holland Thornwood. And coming up behind her, number 522, Talbot Parker of Metamora. Now let's watch for Palatine. Coming across the line, Julie Justman. Here comes Tricia Hubert. Here comes our third runner, Elisa Currens. Here comes our fourth runner. And so the top 5 in girls Class AA looks like this, with Erin Boland, the senior from McHenry, winning her second state championship. Her time today was 11 minutes and 30 seconds, as she was 13 seconds ahead of junior Amy Siegel from Wheeling, who was 11:43 for the day. Kelly Carl, a freshman from Libertyville, was third at 11 minutes and 50 seconds, while Springfield Sacred Heart Griffin's Catherine Gaffigan was fourth at 11 minutes 53 seconds, and a sophomore from Thornwood, Sean Crawford, finished fifth at 11:59. And then we had a chance to talk with the winner in girls Class AA, Erin Boland. From the very first meet, the Kalen Invitational, you didn't lose at all year, and you took on a lot of competition this year. Were you running today the way you thought you'd be capable to run back when you started the season?
Yeah, because I've been healthy this year, and last year I wasn't healthy at all, and it just helps your confidence and everything else.
Did it sort of help you a little bit that maybe coming into the season after the 9th place finish that maybe there was a little less pressure on you this year?
Yeah, that took a lot of pressure off, because I think a lot of people doubted me, but I just had to believe in myself.
So the Pirates of Palatine successfully defend their championship as they put all 5 of their scoring runners in the top 30 for 65 team points, defeating Libertyville, who had 89 points per second. Hersey of Arlington Heights was third, 185 points. Naperville Central fourth with 201 team points, and Prospect was fifth with 215 points. And for the second straight year, talking to us on Sports Channel was the victorious coach of Palatine, Pat Gleason. Well, Pat, obviously, 1 year later, it's not easy to defend your championship. We've seen it so many times in professional sports. And then the carry of pressure that your team had all year, it had to be something a little extra to have to bear.
Well, I'll tell you, it's no question that this season was much tougher than last season. Last year, as a team, we believed that we could win state. This year, everyone believed it, and it made a great difference because it imploded a lot of pressure on us. Sometimes defending champions get a little complacent. Did that happen to your team this year at all? Complacency was a key word for us this year. We listed it number 1 on our list of enemies, was complacency. We listed no people or teams. Our enemies were words: complacency, shortcuts, taking things for granted. Those were our list of enemies, and that's what we tried to fight off all year. Some people might say, big deal, you're supposed to win it, but I guess this still means a lot of personal satisfaction for your team. Well, as I said, as a team and as an individual, I think that this was our toughest year. It was our toughest challenge. 16 times these kids raced and against great competition all season and came out on top each time, and that's very hard to match.
This copyrighted broadcast is presented for the entertainment and non-commercial use of our audience. Any reproduction or other use of this program without the express written consent of Sports Channel is strictly prohibited. Well, here we are, the promised land. This is right smack dab inside the finish line in the finish chute, which for the boys is after 3 miles, the girls 2.1. This is where it all shakes down for the team battle here in AA boys. The team battle may be a one-team race as the Dukes of York go for their 15th state championship since 1962.
Well, I've heard Joe Newton in this area address the team and remind them that the fat lady doesn't sing until they get to this point. And again, we're in the same situation we've been in many years past. Everybody's going to be chasing York High School.
In a major meet this year, York has not had their 5th and final scoring runner finish worse than 14th until the sectionals last week when Dan Hoff finished 30th, and that sort of gave maybe some faint rays of hope to the rest of the AA teams.
Well, possibly. I think probably Joe's had an opportunity to visit with that young man throughout the week, and I'm sure he realizes he needs to run where he's capable of running, and if he does, they'll be nearly unbeatable, I think.
It may be a battle for second in terms you may look for Hoffman Estates. which is coached by one of Joe's alumni, Pete Rife, who led the Dukes to the '68 state championship. Also St. Charles, who was 10th last year. They have 4 runners returning from that team a year ago, and we're looking to be one of the favorites this year until York really established himself as the team to beat, but St. Charles could be a factor.
I think so. I talked to their coach, Jeff Levy, yesterday, and he said they had one young man not run particularly well, but they're confident coming into this meet.
Lots of great individual talent here in AA. A year ago, after being in the country, transferring from Russia just a couple of months, Vadim Nemad of Niles North finished 10th. This year, he has run away from everybody, including, for example, wins of 1:01 and 30 seconds in the regionals and sectionals combined.
I've talked with a number of coaches in the last 2 days who think he is the odds-on favorite. He's undefeated. Jason Rush from Stagg also is another individual who's often mentioned as a threat.
Jason Rush was 5th last year. He's unbeaten this year. Nick Thiel, the top returning finisher from a year ago, who was 3rd, has lost this year to the likes of Rick Montalvo, Jason Rush, and Ron Rossett. Others, perhaps, who could be up in the pack of Bob Reed of York, along with Ron Rossett of Wheeling, and maybe the dark horse Metamora is John Weigel.
I agree. It's going to be pretty tough to call here, and I think that we may see some other young men from York being battle right up front with those leaders. It should be a great race.
AA boys, let's go to the start. And there is the start, our final race of the day. The AA boys, 3 miles around Detweiler Park. As we're underway in the final cross-country race of the 1990 season here in Illinois. Lee, would you anticipate early some team trying to get their pack up front for maybe an impressive showing, trying to build some momentum to try to maybe show York a little something, or is that something with 3 miles you can afford to do?
Well, everybody has a plan, or everybody ought to have a plan, Tom, and I'm not certain how that's going to vary from school to school. You've got to take into consideration the quality and the depth that each team has.
You can see the fans streaming across the course behind the runners, jockeying for position. There's even a strategy for the fans in watching this race, but this is a great sight for the fans to watch.
Now, viewing this race has become an art form. It's, I'll tell you, it is indeed a spectacle. It looks like organized chaos. The fans know what they're doing, I hope, and hopefully they'll avoid the runners, give them an opportunity to run this race.
The early leader, Ramon Lacey of Alton, has fallen back into the pack, is now moving up into the lead, wearing number 435. That is Vadim Nemad of Skokie Niles North, and he runs European style, Lee, meaning he goes out, challenges the course, challenges the field, says, you've got to come and catch me.
That's what I've been told. He's going to just try to take it out and beat everybody's brains out, see if they can stay with him.
He tries to burn them off early.
Going to be survival of the fittest, perhaps.
We've also been told that somebody is still with him with about a mile to go, that we could still have a race. But if nobody's with him by that point, it could be all his. Let's see if anybody goes out with him early. We're on the straightaway along the highway, which will lead to the first mile mark. Vadim Nemad is out by himself, but not far behind is Weigel, the junior from Metamora. Jason Rush also up there. Interesting story, Jason Rush, he's also a varsity swimmer, and he has competed in triathlons. This year, he said, it's been a little harder for me, Jason Rush says, because I don't have the likes of Doug Nelson and Chris Grant and Joe Simone, those great seniors of last year, to really push him. So it's been more of an individual effort for Jason this year for Stagg.
Well, they've set a blistering pace. It's 4:30 at the mile.
The AA best ever, Tom Graves of Sandburg in 1977, covered the course in 13:56.6.
It looks like Vadim Nemad is trying to break this thing wide open.
Slowly stretching things out. Nemad came to the U.S. from the Soviet Union about 2 years ago, needed an interpreter last year, and in the process of getting used to the style of competition here, and getting used to just living in the country, he still managed to finish 10th in the state meet. This year, he knows the language a lot better. He knows the language a lot better. He's much more comfortable, and he is really taking things into his own control as he leads with Weigel and Rush second and third. Ramon Lacey also up there. Now we take a look and we'll see if we can pick up a handle on the team race. Let's see if York stays in their pack. Yes, there's 2 runners right off the bat for York. We see the first 2 for York come through. Now there goes runners 3 and 4. And there goes number 5. Running in the number 5th spot was Dan Hoff. As they come off the back loop, it is Vadim Nemad all by himself. He won the Gordon Tech Invitational to start off the season, a 42-second victory there. The Warren Invitational, winning by 31 seconds there. He won the Niles West Invitational, beating Ryan Crutch of Hinsdale South by 17 seconds. He was the North Suburban Conference champion, winning by 36 seconds there. The Nutra Regional, he won by a minute 1. The Niles West Sectional, he won by 30 seconds. He just hasn't been pressed, and it doesn't look like he'll be pressed today.
Oh, this can be no surprise, I'm sure, to the cross-country fans across the state.
Right now in the race, we are at 10 minutes and 30 seconds with less than a mile to go in the AA Boys Championship.
2.25 miles into the race at this point.
Well, some were wondering, Lee, whether or not this is exactly what would happen. You know, would somebody be able to challenge Vadim Nemad? And so far, nobody's been able to.
Most of the coaches that we discussed this with yesterday said they felt that if Vadim took it out the way he has, that no one would touch him. Boy, he is sure living up to that expectation.
And with a mile to go, nobody was close to him, so that does not bode well for the rest of the field, especially Nick Thiel back in 2nd place. We look all the way back and see that Jason Rush is now in a battle for 3rd. Also among that group back there, Ramon Lacey of Alton Senior. I think Graves' mark is safe, but look at Vadim turn it on as he heads to the final straightaway. And the folks salute him. Vadim Nemad about to complete an undefeated season in AA and culminate it with the AA individual championship. Right now, 13 minutes, 48 seconds. He will not break 14 minutes today. But a fine mark nonetheless. There's only been one time ever in AA history under 14. That was Tom Graves.
Well,
here comes Vadim Nemad.
He's finishing one of the best races in recent years, no doubt about it. Just an outstanding performance.
Unofficially 14-17. Now here comes Nick Thiel. And there's some runners coming hard behind him, but Nick Thiel of Naperville at 14:31. Here comes Jason Rush alongside with John Weigel of Metamora. And it is Weigel finishing 3rd, Rush 4th, Rick Montalvo finishing in 5th. Finishing 6th, Dan Mazer of Leiden. The first York finisher has come across the line. And here are the top 5 in the AA boys individual race, with Vadim Nemad of Niles North winning with a time of 14:17 as he defeated Nick Thiel of Naperville North, who was 2nd at 14:36. Junior John Weigel of Metamora 3rd at 14 minutes 39 seconds. Senior Jason Rush of Stagg was 4th at 14:41. And another senior, Rick Montalvo of West Chicago, finished 5th with a time of 14:45. And afterward, we had a chance to talk with the AA boys winner, Vadim Nemad. Well, congratulations, Vadim. Everybody expected you to win, and when everybody expects you to win, sometimes that's a lot of pressure.
Yes, it is. Like at school and everyone goes, they say you have to win, you have to do your best, and they hope I will win.
Again, it has to be a very gratifying day for you to win by such a large margin, and to know that only 2 years after coming to the United States, you are a state champion.
Yeah, it's like real exciting about this. It's like last year I was 10th and this is 1st, and I did like a lot of job. I work out the summer. I work pretty hard, and track last year it's helped me a lot.
So there you see the Dukes of York had their 5 scoring runners in the top 22 places, 54 team points, and winning their 15th team championship, while Hoffman Estates finished a distant second, 213 points, edging out Lincoln Way of New Lenox, who had 214 team points. In 4th, Naperville North, 238 points, and finishing 5th, Geneseo Darnell with 282 points. And no stranger to our microphones, the head coach of York, Joe Newton. Well, Joe Newton, for the 15th time, you come and take home the championship trophy, and people ask you, how does it feel after 15? Does it feel the same as the first?
You know what, Tom? It gets better with age, and I mean that. I come down here with great anticipation and excitement, and once you've been to the top of the mountain, like Jim Duncan used to say, the view down is awesome, and you want to go up to the top of the mountain every year. So every year is different and unique, and this was magnificent. It was one of our goals to be number 15, and we achieved that goal, and I'm just a happy guy.
Joe, when people say, well, this is York's meet to lose, well, that's a lot of pressure on your team. And even though you've been here before, this is a different team from the years past. Every team is different.
Absolutely. Every team has their own chemistry, Tommy, and every team is unique and different. And it was tough for our guys this year because we were ranked number 1 from day 1. And the pressure is astronomical, as you know from being in the sport yourself. And it just mounts and mounts and mounts until the final moment comes. And our guys, they took care of the pressure, and they did it.
You had some very specific goals for your team today.
We had some very specific goals. Number 1, 1,001, out to the outside, run as a team. Number 2, 4 All-Staters. We'd achieved that. Number 3, 4 guys under 15. We had 3, and 1 guy at 15:02. And finally, our 5th guy had to be less than 40th. And we achieved all our goals. It was just magnificent, Tom.
And also, we can kind of call you the Bear Bryant of cross-country coaches. Coach Lynn and Tremont win the Class A title. Pete Reif finishes second behind the old mentor today, and it's got to be very gratifying.
It's magnificent. Pete Reif was a great runner for me, a captain of my 68 state championship team. Today, he comes back down here and, you know, works on the old coach, gets a second-place trophy. Mike Lynn, who was in that same era as Pete, wins it with Tremont. So this has been a very special moment in my life today, really.
And so that closes out the 1990 Illinois High School cross-country season with another tremendous day of championships here at Detweiler Park. A couple of best-evers in the girl races, York winning their 15th state championship. It was just another reason why this is the best cross-country championships in America, Lee.
Well, it was. This was no exception to the great meets that we've had in years past, and I've had an enjoyable time, enjoyed working with you.
Tremendous job again, Lee. So that'll do it from Detweiler Park in Peoria for Sports Channel's coverage of the Illinois High School Cross-Country Championships. Our next IHSA championship event will be Friday, November 23rd at 10 a.m. It's the Boys State Football Championships. Friday, classes 1A through 4A, and Saturday, starting at noon, it's classes 5 and 6A. The executive producer of Sports Channel is Steve Corman. Today's event has been produced and directed by Bob Albrecht. Stay tuned for Chevrolet Sports Fire. I'm Tom Stalker saying goodbye for Lee Hallberg. The proceeding has been an exclusive Sports Channel presentation.